Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another Wild Rift video. And in today's video, I'll be talking about all the changes that are going to be happening with the next Wild Rift patch. So actually, there are also new skins and new champions coming out, but I'm not going to be talking about that. Because I just want to focus this video on all the different changes on the champions. But I'm not only going to be talking about the champions, I'm also going to be talking about the changes to the game and the changes to the meta. Because I am a top 100 player and I'm still grinding really hard. Like I'm winning so many matches. So I know what I'm talking about. I know what the meta is right now. And I know what's probably going to be changing because of this. So the current meta is to pick Kennen in Baron lane and to rotate to your team to Dragon and win the fight. That's literally the meta. Just rotate to Dragon as a Baron laner and win. Teamfight champions are insanely broken in the current meta. So let's talk about the changes that are going to be happening and see if that changes. By the way, I make a lot of high elo gameplay videos on my channel and also guides, like I tell you what to build and what to do. So if you're enjoying this and you want to see more of that, make sure to subscribe. Also give this video a like. I respond to every comment, so if you have any questions about this video, let me know in the comments. Let's start. So there are a lot of champions getting a buff, and the first one is Corki. This patch, we're taking a good look at the recently released Yordle champs to address some outliers, as well as putting some power back into fighters like Jarvan, Jax, and Yasuo. So Corki is getting a massive buff, guys. Massive. First of all, his first ability is getting more bonus AD from 0.5 to 0.7. This is a pretty big buff. Like his first ability is going to be dealing way more damage now if you build attack damage. Gatling gun. Armor and magic resist reduction goes up. It's literally doubled, guys. It's doubled. It reduces double the amount of armor or magic resist. So when you're playing against tanks as a Corki, this makes it literally twice as good against tanks because you can shred 2 times more armor and magic resist from them. So when you're playing against a comp with a lot of tanks, pick Corki. Corki is literally going to be destroying them. So what else? Ultimate. Base damage is going up in the late game, which is really nice. Attack damage ratio is also going up by a lot in the late game. This is a lot, guys, from 0.25, and when you fully upgrade it, it's 0.65. That's a lot of damage. Big one base damage is also going up in the late game. Note that nothing is going up in the early game because on level 1 everything stays the same, but in the late game it all changes. Big one, attack damage ratio, 0.5 to 1.3 in the late game. Guys, this... I kind of want to say that Corki is going to become S tier. But you don't know until you play him, right? But these buffs make him look like he's going to become an S tier champion. Keep an eye out on Corki and definitely give him a try when he comes out. When the update comes out. Jarvan. So Jarvan was never really played. Like when I played a lot of matches, no one played Jarvan. So this is really necessary. So first of all, they're buffing his base stats. Attack damage per level from 3.6 to 4.55. This is almost 1 attack damage per level buff. So every time you level up, you'll get a bonus of 0.95 attack damage. So when you're level 15, and you'll have 14 more attack damage compared to the old Jarvan. This is okay, you know, this is going to help him a lot because it's literally going to make him deal more damage. So now they make his passive deal a minimum of 20 damage. I mean, you could, in the beginning, you could deal less damage, but now it's a minimum of 20. So this will be good in the early game. This is an early game buff because in the early game, you would deal less than 20 damage, but now you'll do a minimum of 20 damage. So this is an early game buff. Dragon Strike, his first ability. Dragon Strike to Damascene stand, dash combo, hitbox size. Okay, so there... as a Jarvan, you can shoot to your Damascene standard, you know. But it was a little hard to hit it because the hitbox was 2. Now they changed it from 2 to 2.5, which is a little bigger, you know. So it's easier to hit. So they're making Jarvan a little easier to play. And they're making his ultimate dash speed also faster. This is a pretty substantial buff because, like, they're buffing his attack damage. They're buffing his early game by this. They're making it easier to play him. And they're making it harder for the enemies to avoid stuff from him, like his ultimate, you know? So this is a good buff to Jarvan. I don't know if this is going to bring him in the meta, but this is definitely going to be making him decent. Definitely decent. Alright, this is where the interesting changes are going to be coming through. Because Jax is a split pushing champion, guys. Jax is split push. So Jax really didn't fit in the current meta because, as I said, the current meta was that the Baron laner would rotate to Dragon and fight. Jax doesn't like rotating. Jax just wants to push. So let's see what kind of changes they did to Jax. Jax has been underperforming in matchups we expect him to be stronger in, amping up his gap closing so he can snowball better, particularly in situations against squishy ranged So the power... Oh, my camera just froze, so I'm just gonna take away the camera. I'm so sorry. So the power of Jax is 1v1 battles, right? Because Jax is incredibly strong in 1v1 battles. So first of all, they're changing the range from his first ability from 6 to 6.5. So you'll be able to dive from longer range. This is especially good against range targets because, you know, they won't be able to poke you as easily. Because if they try to poke you, you have 0.5 extra range to try and hit them. You know, it's a good buff. The cooldown, they're also decreasing the cooldown in the early game. This is so massive, guys. This is like actually super massive because this is gonna make him so much better in the early game. They're also increasing the damage. So they're only increasing the damage by 5. But 5 is a lot in the early game. You know, it's a buff of almost 10%. So Jax, see the thing is, Jax is probably still not gonna be fitting in the meta, but he's gonna be really good at snowballing. I'm pretty sure that Jax is gonna be really good in low elo. Like in low elo where you can just snowball your lane and split push. But in high elo, he's probably not gonna be viable. It's just he doesn't fit in the current meta, guys. He really doesn't. Alright, Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa was like really good in the current patch. So I'm expecting a nerf. Fixing an issue where Kai'Sa wasn't hitting as hard as she should. Correctly applies caustic wounds damage to the target hit. Oh my god. So Kai'Sa is getting a bug fix, which is a buff. Kai'Sa is broken, guys. It's not broken, but it is insanely strong. So Kai'Sa is gonna be a top tier laner. I really expected them to nerf Kai'Sa, to be honest. This is insane. Like, Kai'Sa Lulu is gonna be insane. Now we're coming to the interesting champion, the stupid Kennen champion. This champion was beyond broken because he perfectly fit in the current meta. Kennen could just play Baron lane, you could rotate to Dragon and use your ultimate and destroy the enemy team, right? So let's see what they're changing up on him. They're changing his base stats. 6 less attack damage. This is a pretty substantial nerf in the early game. You know, you won't be able to bully as hard in the early game because of this. They're also nerfing his movement speed a little bit. Like, as I said, this is a pretty substantial nerf, and this is gonna be putting him in his place a little more. Like, he won't be able to be as dominant in the lane as he used to be. His second ability, the cooldown. Oh my god, guys. This is a huge nerf. 3 seconds on level 1, 2 seconds on level 2, 1 second extra on level 3, and same on the highest level. So in the early game, this is gonna make you way weaker, especially in the laning phase. Like, you won't be able to poke your enemy as much as you could before. This is a pretty substantial nerf. Lightning Rush. Base damage. They're reducing the base damage of Lightning Rush, but honestly, this doesn't really matter too much. I think they should have removed some movement speed from it or something. Like, this is a really small nerf because you never really used the damage from his third ability. So, like, this doesn't really change much, to be honest. So the AP ratio, this does though. Like, the base damage removal doesn't really change much, but this does. It won't skill as well, but as I said, like, this is just a tiny nerf because you never really use your third ability for the damage. You just use it for utility. So now we're going to the most annoying and stupid ability. Slicing Maelstrom, which is his ultimate. His ultimate dealt way too much damage. Way too much damage. So what did I change about it? They tuned down the base damage. Fine. Okay, this is fine. But this is a pretty big nerf. AP ratio from 0.2 to 0.15. This is a 25% nerf to his damage. Okay, what do I think? I still think Kennen is going to be good. You might think that these nerfs are like huge, and they are pretty big, but Kennen just fits so well in the current meta that he's likely still going to be insanely strong. You just need to be, you just need to play a little better with him. You can't just dash in and use your ult anymore because now it actually deals a little less damage. So you have to time it correctly, and it's just going to be a little harder to play Kennen, but he's still going to be really good. I feel like he needs more nerfs. Alright, on to Lee Sin. Our last changes made it so Sonic Wave sometimes can't reach a target kickback by Dragon's Rage ult. We're adjusting the range to make this combo reliable again. Okay. So when you shot someone away, with your ultimate, because of the nerf to Lee Sin, you wouldn't always be able to hit him with your first ability anymore. So what they're doing now is they're making the knockback range of his ultimate just a little less, so you can reliably land your first ability again. You can knock back someone and then shoot your A on him again and dash him. This is a good change for Lee Sin. I don't want to say it's a buff. It just makes him a little easier to play. Tristana, guys. Tristana was the worst ADC champion. Just give me 5 seconds. I need to drink some water. Alright. Tristana was literally the worst ADC in the game, by far. So what did I say? Tristana's abilities feel very lackluster. and her signature explosive charge is not living up to its promise of being a huge nuke when fully stacked. We're amping up all of our explosive powers to help her keep pace with other bot laners. Rapid Fire, which is the first ability. They're buffing the attack speed you get from it, especially in the early game, guys. Look at this, from 30% to 50%. That is a massive buff in the early game. So she won't be as weak in the early game anymore. And the duration is going from 5 seconds to 7 seconds. This is a huge buff, guys. A huge buff already. Second, Rocket Jump. They're just buffing the base damage. I mean, this doesn't really change much. It changes a lot in the early game because base damage is is a good change for the early game, but the late game doesn't really matter that much. But still, this is a good buff. It will just allow you to deal a little more damage. Now, her second ability, Explosive Charge. Or that's her third ability, actually. They kind of messed it up here. Passive base damage. They're increasing the passive base damage, so it already will do more damage. Active base damage is also getting increased. Attack damage ratio is also getting increased by a lot, especially in the late game. In the late game, it goes from 110 to 160%. Guys, I can promise you that Tristana is going to be in the meta because of this. Tristana and Lulu is going to be an incredible combo because I don't think Lulu is getting... Yeah, Lulu is not getting a nerf, guys. Tristana, Lulu is the new thing. Trust me. You really want to be picking up Tristana when this patch comes out because she is definitely going to be incredibly strong. I'm pretty sure she's going to be up there with Kai'Sa and Jinx as the best ADC. Alright, Twisted Faith. A lot of people mentioned that Twisted Faith needed more damage, you know. Twisted Faith was fine, he just didn't really deal that much damage. So what does Wildrift mention about it? Twisted Faith has been underperforming, especially in higher levels of play. We're making it more rewarding to players who are able to select the right card in the right situation. Blue card, okay, so they're buffing every card. They're buffing the mana that you get from the blue card, which is nice. They're buffing the AP ratio of the blue card as well, so it'll deal more damage. Red card, AP ratio, also more damage. But this is the most important card. Everyone uses the gold card to stun the enemy. So gold card stun duration is going up. This is good, guys. This is so good because the stun duration was already pretty long. Like, the stun duration was already pretty substantial, but now in the late game, the stun duration is 2 seconds. Literally, 1, 2. 2 whole seconds of being stunned by Twisted Faith. I feel like this is gonna bring this Twisted Faith in meta. And the reason why Twisted Faith is gonna be really strong is because Twisted Faith Ultimate is really good for rotating. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, in high elo gameplay, rotating is incredibly important, like ganking, going to objectives, split pushing, and then rotating. He literally has a free teleport, so this is just super good. Like, I think he's gonna be really good. I don't think he's gonna be S tier. I think he's gonna be A tier. By the way, if this video reaches 150 likes, I'm gonna be making a full tier list for this whole update when it comes out. So if you wanna see that, make sure to give this video a like. Yasuo. Alright, now onto the Yasuo changes. Yasuo's ultimate sometimes feels more like a I don't know how to pronounce that. Currently, it feels like it takes too long to complete the animation, so we're speeding it up. And also increasing its damage in the late game. So base damage, they're increasing the damage in the late game. It's a pretty good buff. And they're also changing the speed of the animation. So you'll do more damage in less amount of time. Look at this. Like, also the knockup is shorter. So you'll do more damage in a shorter period. So he'll do more burst damage. This is pretty nice. Alright, on to the items. We believe Umos, which is Umos Ghost Blade. You know, this item, Umos Ghost Blade. I'm just gonna look it up like this so you know what it is. It's this item, you know. It's offering too much as a single item and needs to be trimmed down. Ooh, this is the item that Jhin builds, by the way. So this is gonna be an indirect nerf to Jhin and also to Zed. Because Jhin and Zed always buy Yuma's Ghostblade first. Let's see. We're reworking the momentum passive to only stack movement speed at a baseline, instead of also converting momentum into magic damage. Damn. Since our goal is not to nerf Deadman's Blade, we will be adding the momentum to magic damage conversion of the Deadman's Blade Crushing Blows passive. Okay, we'll be talking about that later. So they removed that attacks convert momentum into bonus magic damage on hit. So you'll only get movement speed. You won't get bonus damage. So that is a pretty big nerf, guys. This is a pretty big nerf. Attacks will still remove all momentum stacks. Yeah, this is a pretty big nerf, guys. Like this item, I don't know, guys. I really don't know. Like, if you really need the movement speed, you can still go for it, but this is a pretty big nerf. Like, they literally removed the bonus damage. So it might change the builds of Jhin and Zed. But yeah, interesting to see what's gonna be happening to this, because I think this item is gonna be like pretty bad now. Dead Man's Plate is this item, by the way. Dead Man's Plate, just to show you what it is, it's this one, you know. So they removed that attacks convert momentum into bonus magic damage on hit. You know, when enemies when you walk around, you deal bonus damage when you hit it. They removed that. Attacks will still remove all momentum stacks. Okay, so they added a new passive to it. Attacks deal magic damage equal to momentum stacks removed. Melee attacks that expand max momentum also slow. So now if you create momentums, you know, if you create momentum, you will deal bonus magic damage and you will slow the enemy. So when you're playing Alistar, for example, and you're walking around and you have a lot of stacks, you can hit the enemy to deal bonus magic damage equal to the momentum stacks removed. And your melee attacks will slow the enemy. So this is a good item if you need that slow. Stacking the effects of the redemption or locket enchants should come at a similar cost to multiple heals. We're adding some restrictions to preserve active enchant diversity. So locket is this thing, which are the boots. Let me just show you real quick. This, you know, the boots that give you a barrier. So what are they changing? New. Redemption hue effect is reduced by 50% if the target has been affected by another redemption in the last 20 seconds. So if two of your teammates have locket and you both use them one after the other, the effect of the second one is reduced by 50%. So it's not going to be as good anymore to stack lockets, because in the current meta, it was pretty good to have like 3 lockets in your team, because you could use them one after the other and just keep getting shields. But now they're reducing it by 50%. So it's likely not going to be happening anymore to stack the lockets. It's just not worth it anymore. You can better get stasis or something else instead of another locket. So locket shield effect is reduced by 50% if the target has been affected by... Yeah, this is what I just mentioned, what they said here. All right. So what are they featuring new in the gameplay? Added the ability to see your exact latency in game. Oh, so you can see how much MS you have in game. Okay, that's interesting. Portrait lock. By popular demand, added the ability to choose the order in which enemies appear. Oh, so you can choose the order in which enemies appear in your portrait lock. You know, it's the... let me just show you portrait lock Wild Rift, so you know what I'm talking about. It's this one. See these 3 things? You can actually change them up. Like you can put someone else on top or on the bottom. That is especially good because if you always want to be focusing the same target, you can put that target on the bottom of the target lock. Like if you always want to be focusing, let me find a good example. Like here, if you always want to focus the Ashe and you find it easier to click Ashe when she's here, you can put her here as a standard. Like you can always put her here. So that's a really good change. In-game chat. The in-game chat settings have been updated. All team off is now all team party. Okay. The new party settings allow for pre-made party chats while hiding from... I mean, this is already in the game. I don't know what they're talking about here. The new party setting allows for pre-made party chat while... Well, yeah, I mean, I already have this setting that you can type with your party. I don't really know why they're mentioning it here. Summoner spell timers. Added an indicator around summoner spell buttons showing exactly how long spellcasts like Barrier and Ghost will be active. Okay, so you can see how long, you'll maintain the barrier when you click on it. That's interesting. Okay. Smite indicator. Added a visual indicator to indicate reduced gold from minions if using the smite. Yeah. So this is really good for low elo players because they'll know that, you know, smite is going to reduce the gold that they get for 20%. So they shouldn't pick smite. Gameplay changes. When champions with Hand of Baron buff leave minion vicinity, buff linger duration reduced from 10 to 5 seconds. So they're nerfing Baron, guys. So when you buff minions and you leave them, instead of them maintaining the Baron buff for 10 seconds, they only maintain it for 5 seconds. Okay. That is an interesting change. So you won't be able to just go to a lane, buff the minions and go back because it's not going to be effective. Only 5 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Rift Scuttler. Rift Scuttler now spawns similarly to League PC at the start of the game. Ooh, okay. So they spawn at the start of the game instead of 1 minute and 25. That is actually going to be bringing a lot of changes to the game because you might actually have some strategies where you get the Rift Scuttler first and then you go to the jungle. So this is very interesting. This is going to be changing the jungle rotations by a lot. This is all not really important actually. All right. So these are all the changes. I really want you guys to let me know in the comments what you think about all the changes. And if you have any other questions, then shoot them at me, you know. I'll respond to all the comments that have questions. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I will see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.